Beggars cannot be choosers, Delaney. You should teach your fatherless child to be entirely grateful for whatever scraps she is given. My older sister Jolene spits those words across the living room, her face twisted in a mask of absolute disdain. She stands beside her teenage twins, who are currently tearing into boxes containing $2,500 gaming computers. Meanwhile, my 9-year-old daughter Maeve sits on the floor clutching a single pack of $5 clearance socks, her small shoulders shaking with silent, profound devastation. I do not scream. I do not cry. I feel an icy chill spread through my veins, freezing every last drop of warmth I ever held for these people. I just pull my daughter into my arms, stand up and walk out the door. Thank you for watching this video. Before I take you back there, do me one small favor. Take a second to like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is where you are. It helps more than you know. My name is Delaney. I am 36 years old, and I work as a regional supply chain manager based in Columbus, Ohio. In my professional life, I oversee massive logistics networks, calculating risks, eliminating liabilities, and ensuring that resources flow exactly where they are supposed to go. But in my personal life, within the deeply toxic hierarchy of my own family, I was simply the invisible wallet. I was the reliable, unremarkable workhorse who was expected to carry the burdens of the entire bloodline without ever asking for a single drop of respect in return. I am a single mother to my beautiful, sensitive daughter Maeve. Her father walked away before she could even walk, leaving us to navigate this cold world entirely alone. Because of that, I swore a silent oath to protect her from the kind of rejection I experienced every single day of my own childhood. My mother, Barbara, was a master architect of emotional manipulation. She ruled our family with a sugary voice and a heart made of absolute stone. Jolene was her undisputed golden child, the royalty of our household, simply because she married a loud, obnoxious salesman named Vance and provided my mother with the perfect nuclear family facade. It did not matter that Vance could barely hold down a job, or that Jolene refused to work full-time. They were the golden family. I was just the single mother who existed to subsidize their extravagant lives. The trap was set on a crisp October afternoon in my mother's pristine kitchen. The holidays were approaching, and the usual tension was already thickening the air. My mother stood at the kitchen island, wiping down the flawless marble counter, and delivered her decree. "Everyone will get something small this year," she announced, her tone perfectly rehearsed. "We are keeping it simple and fair. No big expenditures, just small meaningful tokens of love." Jolene sat at the table scrolling on her phone, completely ignoring the conversation while her 13-year-old twins, Sloane and Declan, complained about the internet speed. Maeve, my sweet girl, sat quietly in the corner, nodding her head. "That is a great idea, Grandma," Maeve said, her voice full of genuine innocence. I looked at my mother and agreed, foolishly believing that for once, my daughter would not have to sit in the shadows while her cousins were showered with extravagant luxury. Little did they know, I was walking blindly into the most staggering humiliation they could possibly orchestrate. By the time November arrived, the immense financial weight I was carrying for this family was silently crushing me. 3 years prior, my father, Richard, had lost his corporate benefits. Without missing a beat, my mother had tearfully begged me for help. I was the successful corporate manager. I had the premium family health insurance plan. Without a second thought, I added my parents to my policy. 18 months later, when Vance inevitably lost yet another job, Jolene came weeping to my door. I added them too. Every single month, $1,500 was automatically deducted from my hard-earned paycheck to cover the medical insurance for 6 people. I was paying for my parents, my sister, her husband, and myself and Maeve. I sacrificed our vacation fund, my savings, and my own peace of mind because I fundamentally believe that family protects family. Thanksgiving dinner was a masterclass in sheer psychological warfare. My mother hovered over the dining table, treating Sloane and Declan like absolute royalty. She piled their plates with the finest cuts of meat, laughing at their rude jokes, and completely ignoring Maeve, who sat perfectly still, trying to make herself as small as possible. When I gently asked if Maeve could have some of the special dessert my mother had baked, Jolene rolled her eyes. "She does not need extra sweets, Delaney. It must be so difficult managing a child completely on your own, with no man to provide discipline. The room went dead silent. The mask of family loyalty slipped, revealing the ugly, rotting truth beneath it. They despised me. They pitied me. But they loved my money. I swallowed my pride, biting my tongue so hard I tasted blood, because I wanted Maeve to have a family. I wanted her to know her grandparents. That desperate desire for connection was my profound weakness. I did not realize that true strength means knowing when to burn the bridge completely. The ominous signs of the impending disaster appeared in the middle of December. I had stopped by my parents' house on my lunch break to drop off the new medical insurance cards for the upcoming year. I walked down the hallway and glanced into my mother's bedroom. Sitting on her bed were two massive, heavy boxes, wrapped in shimmering, expensive silver paper with huge satin ribbons. Beside them sat a tiny, pathetic, flat package wrapped in cheap, wrinkled newspaper. "What are those?" I asked, pointing to the massive boxes. My mother smiled a tight, defensive smile. "Those are just practical school supplies for Sloane and Declan. You know teenagers need technology for their education." I stared at her, a cold dread washing over me. "You said we were only doing small gifts. You promised." "Computers are practical, Delaney," she snapped, waving her hand dismissively. "And the little package is for Maeve. It is very useful. She is only 9, she does not need much. Stop being so dramatic." I left that house feeling a sickening knot in my stomach. When I arrived home that evening, I found Maeve sitting at the kitchen table, her hands covered in cheap crayon wax. She held up a piece of construction paper. It was a beautiful, painstakingly detailed drawing of our entire family, holding hands in front of a Christmas tree. "Is it pretty enough for Grandma, Mom?" she asked, her big brown eyes searching my face for validation. My heart shattered into a million jagged pieces. My innocent child was pouring her pure soul into a gift for a woman who viewed her as entirely worthless. Then came Christmas morning. The air outside was freezing, but it was nothing compared to the absolute frost inside my mother's living room. The room was chaotic, filled with the loud, obnoxious voices of Jolene's family. We gathered around the tree. My mother, playing the benevolent matriarch, handed out the gifts. She presented the two massive silver boxes to Sloane and Declan with grand theatrical flair. The twins tore into the paper like savage predators. When they saw the sleek black boxes containing top-of-the-line, $2,500 gaming computers, they screamed in absolute delight. "Only the best for my perfect grandchildren," my mother declared, beaming with sheer pride. Then she picked up the pathetic newspaper-wrapped package and tossed it into Maeve's lap. Maeve opened it carefully, her small fingers trembling with anticipation. The paper fell away to reveal a plastic package of gray, clearance bin socks. A bright yellow sticker on the front boldly declared the price: $5. The silence that followed was deafening. Maeve looked at the socks, then at the glowing massive computer boxes her cousins were already booting up. I watched the absolute devastation wash over my daughter's face. All the color drained from her cheeks. Her spirit crumbled right in front of my eyes. "Do you like them, Maeve?" my mother asked, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "They will keep your feet warm." Maeve's lower lip quivered. A single tear escaped and rolled down her cheek. "Did I do something wrong, Grandma?" she whispered, her voice cracking in a way that haunts my nightmares to this day. "Why do they get computers and I get socks? Do you not love me?" Before my mother could even respond, Jolene stepped forward, her arms crossed over her chest. "Beggars cannot be choosers, Delaney," she sneered, looking directly at me with eyes full of malicious triumph. "You should teach your fatherless child to be entirely grateful for whatever scraps she is given. She is just acting out because she does not have a father to teach her manners." My mother nodded in agreement. "She is a very difficult child, Delaney. You really must discipline her better." I looked at the people who shared my blood. I saw the sheer arrogance, the profound cruelty, and the utter lack of humanity in their eyes. For 36 years I had craved their love. But in that exact moment the final thread tying me to them violently snapped. I did not scream. I did not throw a tantrum. I simply reached down, took my daughter by her hand, and pulled her close to my chest. "We are leaving," I said. My voice was completely hollow, colder than a winter storm. "Oh, stop being so sensitive," Jolene shouted as I walked toward the front door. "You are ruining Christmas." I did not look back. I drove home in absolute silence, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned entirely white. When we got inside our house, I sat on the edge of Maeve's bed and held her while she sobbed until she fell asleep. My beautiful daughter cried herself to sleep over $5 socks, while the people who broke her heart were sitting in a warm house, surfing the internet on computers that cost more than their rent. They thought they had one. They thought they had successfully put me in my place. Little did they know they had just awoken a completely different version of me. I walked into my home office and sat down at my desk. As a regional supply chain manager, my entire career was built on identifying liabilities, cutting unnecessary costs, and eliminating toxic elements from a network. My family had just proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that they were a profound liability. I opened my laptop. I navigated directly to the corporate portal for my health insurance provider. My screen illuminated the darkroom, displaying the active policy. There were 6 names listed. The monthly premium was exactly $1,500. I stared at the names of my mother, my father, my sister, and my brother-in-law. I thought about the thousands upon thousands of dollars I had freely given them. I thought about the sheer entitlement they possessed to mock my daughter while actively sucking my bank account dry. I moved the mouse. I clicked on my mother's name. Remove dependent. Confirm. I clicked on my father's name. Remove dependent. Confirm. I clicked on Jolene's name. Remove dependent. Confirm. I clicked on Vance's name. Remove dependent. Confirm. 4 clicks. That was all it took to sever the financial umbilical cord. A confirmation screen appeared, stating that the termination of benefits for the selected individuals would be entirely effective on January 1st. I closed the laptop. I did not shed a single tear. I felt absolutely profoundly liberated. The first few days of January were quiet. I knew the insurance company was mailing the termination letters. I waited perfectly calm, operating in a state of sheer icy focus. On the afternoon of January 5th, my phone began to ring. It rang and rang and rang. I let it go to voicemail 7 times before I finally swiped the screen and answered. "Delaney!" My mother shrieked into the receiver. Her voice was shrill, completely devoid of the sweet, rehearsed tone she normally used. "I am at the pharmacy. The pharmacist just told me my medical coverage is completely inactive. You need to call Human Resources right now and fix this error." "It is not an error, Mother," I replied, my voice perfectly level. "I terminated your coverage on December 29th. The line went dead silent. The sheer shock radiating through the phone was palpable. "You did what?" she gasped. "You cannot do that. We need our medications. We have doctor appointments. You are abandoning your own parents. You bought $2,500 computers," I said, my voice dropping to a terrifying whisper. "You have plenty of money. Figure it out." I hung up the phone. 10 minutes later, Jolene called. She was absolutely unhinged. "You selfish monster," she screamed. "Vance has a physical scheduled for next week. Do you know how much a private medical premium costs for a family of 4? It is over $2,000 a month. We cannot afford that. You are putting my children at risk." "Beggars cannot be choosers, Jolene," I said, repeating her exact words back to her. "If you can afford to buy top-of-the-line gaming computers, you can afford to pay your own medical bills. I am entirely done subsidizing your pathetic life." I hung up and immediately blocked their numbers. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought they would simply retreat into their miserable lives. But true predators do not let their prey escape without a desperate, violent fight. In the middle of February, I opened my mailbox to find a heavy, thick envelope. It was a certified legal document. My hands remained completely steady as I tore it open. It was a formal summons. My own parents, alongside Jolene, had hired a predatory attorney to file a lawsuit against me. The legal document alleged severe financial abandonment and elder neglect. They were petitioning a federal judge to place a mandate on my income, demanding that I be legally compelled to reinstate their insurance policies, and pay damages for their profound emotional distress. They thought the threat of a courtroom would shatter me. They thought I would crumble, apologize, and open my wallet to avoid a public scandal. They completely underestimated the woman they had created. I immediately hired the most ruthless corporate defense attorney in Columbus. When I sat in his office and showed him the legal summons, he actually laughed out loud. We gathered every single financial statement, every premium receipt, and the absolute lack of any signed contract or legal deed proving I owed them a single dime. The day of the hearing arrived in late March. The courthouse was a massive, imposing structure of cold marble and heavy oak doors. I walked into the federal precinct wearing a tailored dark suit, holding my head incredibly high. I sat at the defendant's table. Across the aisle, my mother, my father, and Jolene sat looking incredibly smug. They honestly believed the system would reward their toxic entitlement. The judge, a stern man with zero tolerance for frivolous nonsense, reviewed the legal briefs. My parents' attorney stood up and delivered a melodramatic speech about filial responsibility, claiming I had maliciously lured them into a trap, only to cut off their life-saving medical care. Then my attorney stood up. He did not yell. He simply laid out the absolute, irrefutable facts. "Your Honor," my attorney stated, his voice ringing through the silent courtroom, "the defendant is an independent adult who voluntarily provided financial assistance out of sheer goodwill. There is no legal trust, no estate mandate, and absolutely no binding contract that obligates my client to pay for the medical premiums of 4 able-bodied adults. The plaintiffs are attempting to use this federal court to extort an independent citizen simply because she closed her checkbook." The judge looked down from his high bench. His eyes locked onto my mother. "Mrs. Barbara," the judge said, his voice dripping with sheer disbelief, "you are asking this court to force your daughter to pay your bills, simply because she did so in the past? Do you possess any written agreement? A deed? A binding legal contract?" My mother stuttered, her mask completely slipping away. "She is my daughter. She owes me. She did this just to be vindictive over a pair of socks." The judge slammed his wooden gavel down so hard the sound echoed like a gunshot. "This courtroom is not a venue for your petty family squabbles, and it is certainly not a collection agency for entitled relatives. The plaintiff has zero legal standing. This lawsuit is utterly frivolous. Case dismissed with extreme prejudice. The plaintiffs are hereby ordered to pay all legal fees and court costs incurred by the defendant." I watched my family completely shatter. The blood drained from Jolene's face as the reality of the legal fees hit her. My mother buried her face in her hands, sobbing genuine tears of absolute financial terror. They had tried to trap me, and instead they had locked themselves inside a cage of massive debt. I stood up, completely calm, completely frozen to their pain. I walked out of that courtroom and never looked back. It has been 2 full years since that day in the federal courthouse. 2 years later, I am sitting on the porch of the beautiful new home I purchased with the thousands of dollars I saved by cutting them out of my life. My career has skyrocketed and Maeve is thriving. She is surrounded by friends, teachers, and a mother who validates her profound worth every single day. Meanwhile, the absolute weight of reality crushed my family. Without my financial subsidy, Jolene and Vance had to sell the $2,500 computers just to pay the massive legal fees they owed my attorney. They are drowning in high-interest debt, constantly fighting. Their perfect facade completely crumbled into dust. My parents are working grueling part-time jobs in their late 60s just to afford the most basic bottom-tier medical coverage. They lost their golden child, they lost their comfortable retirement, and most importantly, they lost the only person who actually cared about them. I learned the hard way that blood does not make a family. Loyalty, respect, and mutual protection make a family. You cannot buy love, but you can certainly stop paying for abuse. I have a peace in my soul today that absolutely no amount of money, and no toxic family title could ever possibly buy. What would you have done if you saw your child weeping over a $5 gift while everyone else was showered in luxury? Would you have swallowed your pride to keep the peace, or would you have burned the entire bridge to the ground? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching our story today. If this resonated with you, or if you have ever had to set hard boundaries with toxic family members, leave a comment and share your experience. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of justice. Stay strong, protect your peace, and I will see you next time.